7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know with BIN News. The restored home where Malcolm X changed his name from Malcolm Little after discovering his Muslim faith will open to the public in Inkster, Michigan next month. The house, originally belonging to his brother Wilfred Little, preserves historical elements like the bathtub used for religious washing rituals. President Trump is issuing executive orders on immigration, including one requiring truck drivers to know English. Another order, signed Monday, targets sanctuary jurisdictions and mandates a list identifying those that obstruct federal immigration laws within 30 days. Florida authorities report that the boat driver involved in Sunday's fatal crash with a ferry is cooperating and no charges have been filed yet. They are working with prosecutors to determine if the crash was a hit and run. And the trial for the suspects in the 2016 armed robbery of Kim Kardashian during Paris Fashion Week has begun. Kardashian will testify in person on May 13th. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
New Schools for New Orleans is committed to celebrating the hard-working teachers of New Orleans Public Schools. Join us at the 4th Annual NOLA Teacher Fest, sponsored by the All-State Sugar Bowl New Orleans Teacher Community. The NOLA Teacher Fest is happening Friday, May 2nd at Champion Square from 4 to 7 p.m. The fest is open to teachers, paraprofessionals, deans, coaches, counselors, and other school support staff. Visit our website to learn more and RSVP, www.newschoolsforneworleans.org.
Good morning,
Wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Wake up, New Orleans. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. Yo, listen, I always say shout out to my super producer, but he's not in the building this morning. We are in the company of our general manager, Mr. Justin. So he's working the board today. Y'all say hey to Justin in the chat. And I'm also in studio with my co-host, the one and only Will Sutton. Hey, Will.
Good morning, New Orleans.
Good morning, everybody. Wake up. The show is going to be dynamic today at the 7:20 hour. We're going to talk to Tara Boyd. Moving challenges for students with disabilities. My heart beats differently for educators, so I'm excited to have that conversation with her. And at the 8:20 hour, we're going to hear from the folk at Class Act Entertainment. But right now, Will and I are going to talk about TD Jakes stepping down.
Yeah, if y'all missed it on Sunday, and then the follow-up Sunday night and Monday, the legendary TD Jakes will no longer pastor his church, and he's handed it over to his daughter, Sarah Jakes, and her husband. So he said at church on Sunday that they've been talking about this for some time, that they planned a transition. It was just a matter of timing, and this was the time. So, of course, he had that medical episode not too long ago, which was freaking folks out as he had a problem standing on the stage. So that probably contributed to the timing. No indication of what he will do next, but transition is in motion.
Well, the article says there's a major shakeup is coming to the biggest church in Dallas as Pastor Bishop T.D. Jakes announced Sunday he's handing over leadership of the Potter's House congregation to his daughter and son-in-law. The emotional announcement comes months after Jakes had a massive heart attack while delivering a sermon on stage at the church. The statement says, from Bishop Jakes, you have been faithful to God and you have been faithful to me. He told the congregation during Sunday morning's service at the Potter's House, and I'm so grateful. Holding back tears, Bishop T.D. Jakes thanked his church family and announced his stepping down as head pastor of the Potter's House. His daughter and son-in-law, Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts and Teray Roberts, will take over as soon as July. I mean, you always need some time to take care of yourself. Your body can only do so much. And I actually was watching the clip when he was sitting on the stool on the stage, and you can clearly see something was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a very scary thing to see. So I knew then that there were there was some serious things happening. But the story that we were talking about off air, you know, involving his other daughter, it was not this daughter, not the pastor daughter, it was Cora. And you and I were talking about the Jakes family, and I was expressing to Will, because you know I keep my ear to all of the stories out there. And there's a young lady who's been accusing Bishop Jakes' daughter of taking her child from her. And so it's not Sarah Jakes, it's Cora and her husband Brandon were accused by this young lady, and very publicly accused. She was on a number of different social media platforms, huge social media platforms, sharing her story about her introduction to the Jakes family, how she knows them, that she allegedly lived with Cora briefly, that she was her spiritual guide, and somehow she entrusted her with her baby, and then Cora refused to give the baby back. Now, that's the story that's out there that Will and I were talking about off air, and it was huge. Larry Reed has a huge platform. He follows all of the gospel world, and he had the young lady's story on a number of different outlets. I saw it years ago. It's not anything new. I don't know what the resolve is, but I first heard about this story about 3 years ago, like the summer, like going into the summer of 2022 is when I initially heard this story. But yes, the bishop stepping down is that's a huge story. And so we wish him well in his. Is it going to really be a retirement though? Do you think that
it's
he's
not
really
clear
going to sit down?
because he has so many enterprises.
Yeah.
Under the name T.D. Jakes and Potter's House.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that he said on Sunday was, I have seen too many men build something and stay so long that they kill what they built. I cannot afford, especially after November, to risk something happening to me and you be sheep without a shepherd.
Yeah.
So good on him to recognize that.
But I mean, and from the article I'm looking at, I don't think that he's going to separate completely from it, because it says the Potter's House says T.D. Jakes will remain chairman of the church's board and spiritual overseer.
Right.
So that still sounds like he's at the helm. He just have a different driver, maybe.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah. A number of corporations will have a chair who doesn't show up for work every day. They're not even in the big office, but they have an office that they go to sometimes, but they're always available by phone. And of course, if you're leading the organization, you take the chair's call. so they're influential without being there every day. And perhaps that might be what he has in mind.
And I mean, that's a huge story, but and again, we wish him well in his transition from, I guess, being in a pulpit full time to now kind of taking a back seat to his daughter and his son-in-law. I would assume that the church is in good hands.
30,000 people. You better be in good hands. 30,000 people.
That's a mega church. But we're gonna switch gears a little bit, because our first guest is working in the education space. And you and I were talking briefly about a bill that you wanted to kind of dive into. And the bill was leading into this idea that absenteeism or attendance is somehow going to be tied into the school's formula, maybe. So maybe we can jump into that story. And I know so it's a trick bag, right?
It is.
It's a trick bag.
So for those who don't know, there's a bill in the Louisiana State Legislature, and the idea of the bill is to place more responsibility on school districts in Louisiana for having kids show up at school.
Give them the name of the bill, Will,
and
the number of the bill.
Hold on just one second. I'll find that. But meanwhile, they what they're doing, what the proposal is that there are too many kids not showing up in school, and the argument is that we're paying you to teach these kids who aren't showing up, so maybe we won't pay you if you can't get the kids to attend school. That's House Bill 185 by Barbara Freeberg out of Baton Rouge. And she's making an argument that we shouldn't pay, the state shouldn't pay for what we're not getting. So, long-term expert educator, how do you feel about absenteeism? I mean, you've been principal of school, you've been teacher, you've been all up in it. To what degree do you feel you could control whether a student shows up or not?
I believe it's a trick bag, and I think that penalizing schools in the way that the bill is attempting to is a bit short-sighted, in my opinion. I think the onus on truancy, or the onus on absenteeism, is a collective fight. It's not just a school fight. I believe it's a home to school to community responsibility, right? And so we talked briefly about this on yesterday when I brought up the Linda Fricky case, right? And it's pivotal to talk about that case because at least one of those children I know for certain was supposed to be at school because that's where the parents took them, right? And if a child is dropped off at school, the only way I as a parent will know that my child is not in first period or second period is if I receive some sort of correspondence from the school, because if I drop him off or if I put him on the bus, then my duty to ensure that he gets to where he's supposed to be ends with me putting him on the bus, right? Or ends with me walking him into the school. Then the school takes the baton. And now you're responsible for his presence. So if I know he's there because I dropped him there, but then he doesn't make it to his homeroom, and if there's no robocall, there's no text message, there's nothing to let me know that he's not there, then how am I to know that where I took him is not where he is, right?
Well, she argues that 1 in 4 Louisiana students are chronically absent. And chronically,
it could
that's a lot of kids.
But that could be. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that's true. It's still not 100% on the school. There's a collective effort that has to happen here between the home, the school, and the community. Because again, if we're walking around the community and we see children at 10:30 in the morning, you know that if they look school age, there's a responsibility to call somebody and say these kids are out, where they're supposed to be. It's a responsibility on the neighborhood grocery stores and corner stores to not let them engage in buying things because they're supposed to be in school. When I was in high school, businesses will get in trouble for servicing children during school hours because you're not supposed to allow them to buy and you're not supposed to sell to them if they are supposed to be in school. But if the businesses are allowing the children in the facility and they're buying and selling and nobody knows that the child is not in school, then that is a community issue as well. I do not think it's a one-pronged issue. I think it's a collective effort to make certain that children are where children are supposed to be.
But we can't take funding away from the parent. Can we take funding away from juvenile court judge or from the DA? So I see what she's after here.
I think the problem is there's not enough funding, first of all.
Right.
So you threatening the funding isn't going to get you. That's almost like thinking you could police your way out of crime. That's not going to happen. Touching the funding is not going to change truancy or absenteeism. That's not what's going to change it. We have to actually put the onus where it belongs. Our school system is broken in a way that now you're trying to do penalizing things or threatening things to schools. That's not going to do anything for teacher morale. That's not going to do anything for overworked, underpaid teachers. It's just not going to do anything for it. And so for me, that is not the solution. It sounds like it can be like, oh, I have a way to fix this. But in theory, it's one thing. But in practice, you're going to devastate the system even more than what you're trying to fix about the broken system. So I believe where there is a well-resourced school, right, where there are teachers who actually love children, where there are after-school programs that the kids actually want to do. When school was actually school, you had all of these things going on. Somebody needs to ask the children why they don't want to be in school right now. How about we start there? Why would you rather be in a neighborhood doing whatever it is that you're doing as opposed to being in the schoolhouse with your teachers, learning, engaging with your socializing with your friends, eating that nice free and reduced lunch? Why don't you want to be there?
Right.
How about Miss Barbara starts there with her bill? Because I believe a lot of people write prescriptions for illnesses that they've never experienced. That's the first problem. You don't know what's going on in those schools, but you want to sit over here and you want to kind of look down and say, oh, this is the problem, let me fix it. Are you talking to children about why they're not in school? Are you talking to teachers about why the kids are not showing up? Are you talking to parents? Sometimes the kids are staying home to watch siblings who are not yet school age and their parent can't afford daycare. You do know that, right?
So what can the state do about that?
I mean,
because I hear you. Yeah. Taking on some additional family responsibility in that case.
Yeah.
Sometimes taking on an illness that may or may not be real. Sometimes the parent has done what they should do.
Yes.
And getting the kid to the bus, getting the kid to school, and going to work. So they don't have time to scour to say, I need to see that you got in your seat every day. They got to get to work.
I would like to say that if we have $39 million to invest in a juvenile prison, we should have $39 million to invest in actual school resources to get our kids to gravitate back to our school buildings, right? And to me, I know I used to love going to school because I knew that there was love in my school. My principal loved me. Carol Eggerling loved me, right? I knew I was loved at my school. I knew that my teachers wanted the best for me. So how about we start to look at why the system is struggling in the way that it is, and why is it that we resource everything but what is best for our children? We'll pay a whole lot of money to lock them up. We will not invest in any sort of things on the front end to make certain that we are attractive to our children, to make them want to come. There's a reason why the kids are not beating down the schoolhouse building to go in there. Maybe we should start to investigate that. But I don't think penalizing an already struggling system, because there are teachers out there doing the very best that they can. There are principals out there doing the very best that they can. Do we have bad actors? Absolutely we do, because we have people pretending to be educators in our schools. But the people who actually went to school to do this work, those people love doing this work. The people who just walked off the street looking for a paycheck or looking to have summers off, and weekends off, that is where you're going to find the problem. Educators go to school to educate. Educators go to schools to love on children. We have people perpetrating frauds in our schoolhouses, and that's why this is a perpetual issue. But I do not think stripping an already struggling district of its resources is going to be the way to fix the problem of absenteeism or truancy. Again, I liken that to thinking you could incarcerate your way out of crime, right?
Now, there are states that are moving to this model, have been over the last several years. So we're probably up to more than 20 states that have done this, and they're using different ways to count. One of those ways is average daily enrollment. So they're like tracking the day.
We do that every day. We do that every day.
Right, yes. right. But they're tying the average daily enrollment to what your funding would be.
They've always done that. Let me tell you something, Will. In our system, October 1st and February 1st are called, that's count days for us, right? You will notice that when school starts up until October 1st, you will see very minimal reports saying children are not here or they're absent, because you need it to seem as if they're there, right? Because October 1st is your count day. After October 1st, you'll start to see more absenteeism recorded. You'll start to see more suspensions recorded because the funding part of it has been accounted for. Then you'll start to see the same thing at the top of the year. January, you'll see less and less absenteeism reported, even though it's happening. You're not really reporting it. Even though they should be suspended, you'll send them in school because you need the count for February 1st, right? So there are ways that these people are dealing with these numbers, but all I see with this bill is another way to strip public schools of much needed resources. That's what I see, and I'm not going to sign on to that.
I got you.
Jamal, don't go nowhere, Jamal. Listen, you want me to take Jamal? Hey, Jamal. We about to take your call. Good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. You're on with Dr. Wyatt and the Will Sutton.
Good morning. How y'all doing today?
Good morning.
All right. Well, I am an educator, and I'm going to tell you this, that I'm not discrediting what you're saying, and I hate the fact that what they're saying are trying to pass this bill through the state, but I work in the school system, and I ask my kids why they haven't come, and it's amazing how everything always being pointed back to the teachers. Now, there is something that they have out here to where they're trying to make the parents more responsible. But this practice or system is becoming very slowful and getting the parents to participate to make sure that the kids come. The excuses that I hear, if it's raining, my mama didn't want to wake up because it was raining to bring me to school. 2, I didn't feel like coming to school today, yesterday. 3, you have 3rd and 4th grade kids have to stay home with their parents and with their siblings to watch them because mom have to work or grandmother have to work. The excuses that I hear coming from my kids' mouth are unacceptable, and I hate the fact that these kids are going through this because we're teaching bad behaviors, but it's starting and stemming from the home. And every time you look, I'm getting tired of these people always pointing fingers at the educators like we're supposed to do all of this to make sure that these kids have the best or whatever, but it has to start from home. Now, if they want to pass a bill to make sure that when we pass these envelopes out or send these mail letters to the parents saying that your kid has been such days that you got to pay this fine, then make sure they go out and get these fines from these parents. I bet you they start bringing those kids to the schools then.
So, go ahead.
Go ahead, Will.
So you want to fine the parents for the kids?
No. Right. There's something that's already out there. That's been out there. That's not new. The school system will contact the parents to see if they can get these days excused. If they cannot, and they cannot prove them, then they are subject to fine for these kids not coming to school like they're supposed to.
So,
this is already
Jamal,
out there.
What part of the commentary did you were saying you didn't agree with what we were saying? Because I mean, what are you disagreeing with what we were saying? I thought you were pushing back on something we were saying, or are you just adding that you want parents to be fined and maybe they'll start to ensure that their children are at school? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's two things. One was the first thing was I think you alluded that it was truancy, and it could be some truancy. I don't think the truancy rate is as high as the rate of parents knowing that the kids are home and keeping them home because they have other obligations or they just don't feel like getting up to bring the kids to the bus stop or driving them to school or whatever. And the second one is I'm getting tired of the state and everybody else trying to always point the fingers at the teachers to make them do extra and over and beyond. So now they want to pass this bill, this 185 bill, I think y'all said it is.
Yeah, 185.
More pressure on the teachers. Yeah, so we put more pressure on the teachers to get the kids to the school. Well, how are we going to fight against the parents to get the kids to the school? There's already something out there. I can't think of what it is, but I know because I work in the school system. They send these notifications out to the parents saying that you got to prove that these kids was absent on these days, have a legitimate excuse from a doctor, a psychologist, or whatever the reason may be. It could have been a death in the family or whatever. And if they cannot prove it, then these things are brought to the court. They have to pay a fine. I don't know exactly what it is.
Thank you, Jamal. We have to go to break, but I appreciate your call, and I hope you continue listening so that you can hear our feedback on your commentary. But we have to go to break. I appreciate you.
No problem. Thank you. Have a good day.
You're welcome. Listen, shout out to all of the educators, and we appreciate Jamal and his perspective. But I do not think that there was ever any part of my commentary where I'm going to allow teachers to be made the scapegoats for this, right? So I stand fiercely in defense of teachers. I do think that this is an all-out assault on public education, and I think that's the part of the conversation that a lot of people miss, whether it's intentionally or otherwise. This is just another way, in my opinion, to create an opportunity to starve an already starving system of much needed resources, right? And when you talk about penalizing or charging impoverished parents with fines and fees, about that likens itself to the judicial system, right? The fines and fees that folk can't afford, and this is a whole conversation that we're going to continue to have. But we have to go to break. When we come back, we're going to jump into conversation with Tara Boyd, moving challenges for students with disabilities. She's also in the education space. Let's see what she has to say on this topic. Y'all stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about
all day long.
Good Tuesday morning. I'm Daryl Forges with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. The search is on for the driver of a stolen vehicle who led Jefferson Parish deputies on a chase. That chase ended when one of the suspects in that car was shot. Now, this all happened around 7:45 p.m. in Marrero. Now, we're told deputies tried to stop a vehicle that was reported stolen when they were led on a chase. A 16-year-old passenger jumped out and ran. A deputy followed the teen. The JPSO deputy fired shots and struck the teen. The suspect is being treated for non-life-threatening injuries. The alleged stolen car was recovered on the West Bank, but the driver is still at large. All eyes are on the rising Mississippi River. The Army Corps of Engineers says it's at about 16.5 feet at the Carrollton Gauge in New Orleans. That's just below the 17-feet minor flood stage. It comes as daily inspections are still happening from Baton Rouge to Venice. Officials tested the opening of the Bonnie Carey spillway last week, but it's still unclear if that will happen. All right, trash talks in New Orleans got heated, and the key players behind the deal were no-shows. Monday's hearing was meant to get to the bottom of why the mayor's office terminated Ivy Waste's emergency contract in the French Quarter and parts of the CBD. Mayor LaToya Cantrell wants to reinstate the original contract with Henry Consulting, but the city charter says council members must approve that contract before Henry Consulting can begin pickups, something they have refused to do. The city says because the council won't sign off on the contract with Henry Consulting, they have forced the company to take legal action. I'm Daryl Forges, and that's your headlines for WBOK. Have a great
This is the Bloomberg Black Business Beat. Former world champion track and field star Marion Jones believes she can prove that redemption is possible. At one time, one of the world's most gifted athletes, Jones was stripped of her Olympic gold medals and sent to prison for lying about using steroids during a federal investigation. Jones shared her perspective on success and setbacks on Bloomberg.
Everybody can relate to some type of failure in their life, whether it's a failure in their career, in their relationships, financial failure. And what I've learned from mine is that it's thankfully not forever. We don't have to stay there. Being stuck is a choice. And even bigger than I think all of that is this idea that your setbacks in life don't have to be forever, and your comeback can be that much bigger and better.
Jones is working on her comeback story now as an entrepreneur and a positive influence. I'm Bloomberg's Justin Milliner on the Black Business Beat.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Turn your book idea into publishing gold.
800-215-6818. 800-215-6818. That's 800-215-6818.
Have you tried hands-free Skechers slip-ins yet? Because if you haven't, you're missing out on technology that changes how you think about shoes. First, these are not just regular slip-on shoes. They're not just a pair of loafers without laces. But what makes them different is the technology inside that lets you just step into them. There's a built-in hidden shoehorn that slides your foot in, so they look, feel, and wear just like a pair of shoes you're used to. Except you don't have to bend down, struggle to put them on, or touch them. Try them at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
NOLA Public Schools is excited for the rest of this 24-25 school year journey with our families, watching our students dive into learning, growth, and success. As the school year continues, our dedicated educators are focused on keeping every student engaged and motivated. Let's keep embracing new challenges, celebrating achievements, and supporting each other to make the rest of this year even more impactful. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS through our social media channels for updates and resources. We're here to help our scholars attend today, achieve tomorrow.
The legendary Broadway show is back. The Wiz. The Chicago Tribune raves. It's an eye-popping, high-intensity revival and a cause for celebration. The music, the voices, the legend returns. Entertainment Weekly says, run, don't ease on down to this spectacular revival. The Wiz. Playing the Sanger Theater May 13th through 18th. Tickets at BroadwayInNewOrleans.com.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning. Wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanti Sawai. Shout out to my co-pilot, the one and only Will Sutton, and our GM holding down the boards today.
Justin.
He tried.
Justin.
But we're in studio this morning with Tara Boyd and Dr. Tara Boyd, and we're going to be talking about moving challenges for students with disabilities. And welcome to the Good Morning Show. How you doing this morning?
I am wonderful. Thank you for having me.
You look wonderful. You welcome. You welcome. It's a kitchen table conversation. That's how I like to look at it here at the morning show, because you know that we're having real conversations about real issues. And prior to your segment, we were talking about House Bill 185 and this idea. And believe it or not, Will wanted to talk about this topic.
Okay.
I said okay. Mm-hmm. And the summary is that it provides for the methodology that the State Board of Elementary Secondary Education uses to count students for purposes of the Minimum Foundation Program. That's the MFP funding formula. So they're looking for ways to, I guess, hold schools accountable if the children are not in their seats, right? And we were talking on and off air about this idea that most of our schools are already fiscally struggling.
Right.
I do not believe that this is a way to directly impact what they're trying to impact, which is increased student enrollment.
It might have limited impact on a better resource school district.
Yeah.
But
it
for
will have
those
dire.
that-
That's the people they targeting. This
Right.
House bill is not targeting
Right.
well-resourced,
Yeah. Right.
well-funded
Exactly.
school systems. So let's be very clear, and that's what I was hoping Jamal would understand. As an educator, we see things just from the lens of our school, our classroom, and our kids. But when you look at it big picture and you look at this idea that we're going to attack MFP money for a district, I'm certain his district is not swimming in dollars, right? And so you're asking to then pillage through those funds based on this idea that the teachers or the school is solely responsible for the attendance of the children. I believe that this is a three-pronged issue. It's not just the school, it's the house, the school, and the community. Because again, we talked off air about businesses were penalized if you allow children in your space and you sold chips or pickles to them and you let them buy things when you know that they're supposed to be in school.
Yeah.
And so there's so many ways that this can be done, but to just target the MFP dollars for the school, I think it misses a holistic mark, in my opinion. And as somebody that's working in the education space, this will have a dire impact on the very population of children you service if this House bill is allowed to pass through. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, number one, I believe you can't just target the school, okay? Number two, I think unless they start looking at what's going on in life with lower socioeconomic families, then they're missing the ballpark. We need more help. We need the assistance. Those dollars that you're trying to cut, put them into the schools, put them into the families. I was told just yesterday we were talking about a family who had to have their 4-year-old at 6 o'clock in the morning sitting at the bus stop because she had to go to work. Help us. We need help. Don't just talk about taking away stuff. That mother first objective, unless she wants the food in her house, a roof over their head, she has to do what she has to do. You taking away that dollar is not going to get that 4-year-old to school.
And I also, want to be very clear about something. Because I think in some people's minds, they think parents keep the best part of their child at home with them and they send the worst part to the school. That time when those children are at school is probably the biggest break of the day that parents are going to have. So I don't know anybody without good reason that's just electing to keep children in the home, right? Without good reason. There are reasons it's happening, and I want to be very clear the difference between an excuse and a reason, because what can feel like an excuse to us is a vile. It's almost diabolic, right? It's a real reason why this is not happening.
Right.
And so for me, like I've heard stories where folk are leaving children in McDonald's play areas to go to job interviews, right? Or leaving children at home with their older brother to go to job interviews. there are bad actors, right? People who just neglect the idea of sending their children to school, neglect the idea of being parents. But by and large, parents are really trying to parent to the best of their ability.
Correct.
But a lot of the times, we're asking people to do parenting things that they don't have the capacity to do too. We don't think about that. We just think about it from the lens of what we're able to do and how we see it, and we don't think about the capacity of other folk. And we have to stop doing that. I want people to focus on systems more than they focus on people. There is an orchestrated attack to make parents and teachers and parents in schools fight each other. And meanwhile, the only people benefiting from the fight are the people who are orchestrating the fight on the outside. I do not believe that by and large, all of these parents are just saying, well, I'm just not sending them today. He gonna watch cartoons and eat cereal in the living room while I sleep. No, they're not. And sometimes a missed bus is the only time that's the only transportation that I have. So if you don't get up at that time to get on that bus at that time, you don't have a cousin you could call, you don't have a car. How do I get the kids there? And this is why wraparound holistic services are important. But you talk about utilizing the village, and everybody who know me know it's my favorite word. So according to Moving Challenges for Students with Disabilities, it says what we do. You're committed to ensuring that all children, regardless of ability, have the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive. We empower families, educate communities, and create an inclusive, there's that important word that everybody's scared of, an inclusive environment where every child can reach their full potential, comprehensive support, and advocacy for all children, inclusive of autism disorders, disabilities, and their families. And it says utilizing the village. And I think that's what we're talking about in terms of this bill. It's not just the responsibility of the school and the teachers to ensure that children are present. It's not just the responsibility of the parent to ensure that. It's not just the responsibility of the community, but I think if everybody in the village is doing their part, then we can actually see better outcomes. What do you say to that, Ms. Boyd?
The village is very important. And with Moving Challenges, I'm going to throw that in. We try to connect parents with the village. That might be a person who's servicing to help a child with disability. That might be a company like an OT company. That might be a speech person. That might be an ABA person that connects to make that village stronger for that parent, because they're always looking for resources, and we're always in the game of trying to help them connect with those important resources. Our main function with Moving Challenges is, number one, we provide an after-school tutoring program where we offer services to not just neurotypical kids, but neurodivergent kids. I feel like we're putting a gap, or we're closing that gap that what those kids in school are not getting. Because just imagine, I'm all for educators. There's 30 kids in a class. You have 6 kids who might be neurodivergent. That one teacher has to try to find resources, support, and she's not always successful with reaching those other kids that are neurodivergent. So our main focus is to try to close that gap by giving them extra opportunity to find other ways to learn, to make that children who might do a lot of recalling, but they're having problems applying that information. So our team at Moving Challenges, we work on closing that gap, if you understand, or making those deficits.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Are making those deficits less likely to affect them as they're growing. The dollars that the state is trying to take away, please, and they should come into the classroom and see that. Teachers need those dollars. We can't always control what happens after a child is dropped off, as you were saying. Sometimes you have the older kids who leave school. We there. The parents have done their job. She has dropped them off. Why would you try to penalize that parent when she has done her part? Most people can't leave their job, so they don't know what's going on once a child is left. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So in terms of Moving Challenges, if I am understanding correctly, this was something that launched based on your concern about your grandson, and how do you tie what your grandson experienced to what you're now doing with Moving Challenges?
Okay, yes, my grandson is on autism spectrum. The main reason I started this because I was an educator. And as an educator, I saw going into classrooms the big gap that's needed for children. 'Cause, for example, I went into a classroom and you have kids that were neurodivergent. A teacher's teaching geometry, not breaking it down based on where those children cognitive levels are. But she's done her job in her eyesight. She's taught her lesson. She don't care if a child doesn't understand what's going on. She's did what she was supposed to do. That's a problem for me. So based on the studies and the research that I've done when I found out my child has autism, my grandchild, excuse me, I started researching to make sure that I understand what was needed cognitively for him to succeed. Number one, and I try to stay abreast of different things that's going on. Children with autism, like you said, it is a spectrum. So it's going to be different.
Right.
My grandson can recall from the age of 3 years old. He was recalling numbers, reading, words, da-da-da. But the comprehension piece was missing. And I would go into the school and I was like, look, can we please get an IEP with a goal with reading, math, da-da-da. The school system fought me even though I had data, which they wouldn't look at, to see that, oh, he needs a reading goal, he needs a writing goal, because the comprehension piece isn't there. The application piece, he's not able to apply the information unless you bring in different modalities to help to help him understand. So my struggle with the schools have been that if I'm an educator and I've done this and I have research and I have data saying that this needs to happen, if you're fighting me on that, I just don't understand. Because as a parent coming in, we're supposed to be a team working for the success of the child. Leaving one parish coming to another, let's say a more affluent parish coming to another, they had a paraprofessional who would assist the teacher with helping those students that's in a classroom that's not neurotypical. But coming into a system that has less resources, and especially a charter school, I find that it is a battle to get what you need to support your child. I find that they're trying to, and this is my opinion, keep the dollars in their pocket. How much would it cost you to put a person in that classroom to assist that teacher to help those students who don't learn at the same rate as the other child? How much would it cost you? What would it hurt for you to bring in some volunteers to help that teacher assist in any way that they can? So my mission with the Moving Challenge became a fight to bring together parents who in that school wasn't getting the resources that they need or the support for their child. There are a lot of parents at this particular school where I've had to bring in an attorney because I know that my child is not the only child. I've had a teacher who teaches in that school to come and say, oh, who had children that was neurodivergent, that said, the administrator wanted them to check off that the children were getting services when in actuality that they weren't. I feel strongly that stuff has to change. Our babies deserve the same education with the support that they need that every other child in that classroom does. You know, I don't know what it's going to take. I got with Southern Poverty Law Center. They called and, we made the connection with the consent decree. They're trying to take away the consent decree that's held over Orleans Parish right now. Even the consent decree does not assure that those children in the classroom is getting the services that they're supposed to get. It's a little check-in that says, oh, my paperwork looks good, but the support for my children is still not there. So I feel that, and I was telling parents in our same situation, to come together as a village. Find people who can support us to make sure that our children get what they deserve. Because every child deserves an education. I don't care if it's an education that's going to bring them, to teach them a trade. Give them something. They have to thrive. They have to survive. And unless we start in the schools and at the home and in the village to make sure we get together people that's like-minded and going to make sure our children are safe, stuff has just got to change.
If you're just joining the conversation, we're talking to Tara Boyd and Dr. Tiara Boyd, talking about moving challenges for students with disabilities. And if you want to join the conversation, number is 504-582-9422. Here's my question to think about as we go to break, so we'll dive into it when we come back. Why do you think it is such a challenge for school districts and school systems and people in decision-making capacities? Why is it so hard for them to recognize students with disabilities and the needs that must be addressed to ensure that education is equitable for them? Right? Let's think about that during the break. But when we come back, we'll have more with Tara Boyd right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
All day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Partly to mostly cloudy today with highs in the mid to upper 80s. Rain will again hold off. Expect an onshore flow. Winds 5 to 15 miles per hour. Lows tonight into the 60s and 70s and muggy. More mid to upper 80s for Wednesday. Rain chances Thursday to the weekend. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Hi, this is Arnie Filko. Let's elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events to sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join Carrie and I every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. on Elevated Conversations, the Arnie and Carrie Show. See you soon.
Hey, New Orleans, look for important changes to your natural gas service. This summer, Delta Utilities takes over for Entergy Gas with a Louisiana-born, Louisiana-based approach to safe, clean, reliable natural gas. No interruptions or rate changes due to the transition, just dependable service and modernized technology to keep you running smoothly. Get to know us at deltautilities.com and stay tuned for more later this summer. Delta Utilities, focused on natural gas, committed to New Orleans.
WBOK. Listen now on WBOK1230.com.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK. It's off the top. With Norman Robinson on WBOK 1230 AM.
As the French Quarter Festival was coming to a close, a 36-year-old man brazenly opened fire in front of New Orleans police officers, wounding 5 people. It is a horrifying reminder of how quickly joy and celebration can turn into chaos and fear. Now, what makes this incident even more disturbing is what it reveals about the law, or the lack of it. Earlier this year, you'll recall, the Louisiana State Legislature passed a law allowing permitless concealed carry. Now, that means anyone over 18 can legally carry a hidden firearm in public. No permit, no background check, no training required. Let that sink in. No authorization, no checking to see whether someone shouldn't have a gun. No training to make sure someone knows how to use a gun. Just a gun in their pocket, waistband, jacket, or on their ankle. Police are expected to manage crowded events, busy city streets, and tense situations without being able to question who's carrying a weapon until it's already too late. Their hands are tied, and we are left vulnerable. Any irresponsible ass with a gun is free to put your life and my life at risk. Now, this isn't about gun rights. It's about basic responsibility. Requiring permits and training isn't an infringement. Duh. It's just common sense. It protects the public and it protects the officers who put their lives on the line every day. Now, if a man can open fire right in front of law enforcement during a festival, maybe it's time the state legislature admits this law needs a second look. This can't be about politics. This must be about public safety. It's time to give police a chance to protect us before lives are lost. This is Norman Robinson, Off the Top.
I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White. My co-pilot this morning is the one and only Will Sutton. And right now in studio, we have Ms. Tara Boyd talking about moving challenges for students with disabilities. And I'm going to give you the floor again because I think what we're talking about is very critical and very crucial. But the question is, why do you think systems and the folks who actually are in decision-making capacities are so adverse to ensuring that there are equitable schoolhouses and equitable resources for children with disabilities?
Well, number one is, again, it does relate all back to the dollar. They are receiving the dollars, but they are not one to put in the work that it takes to make sure those children are educated properly. Should I say a free, appropriate public education? Appropriate is so broad. If you give it to the administrators who's receiving the money, appropriate could be just because the child is sitting there doing, not making sure that the child understands, but just because that child is sitting there, that's appropriate.
Compliance.
Mm-hmm. So with moving challenges, we wanted to take that a step farther, not only to make sure that, not that we're getting any dollars, but we want to make sure when a child comes to us, they're getting that one-on-one service that meets their needs. They're getting appropriate based on a plan, based on some surveys, based on information that we're collecting from both the parents, any written documentation that will help us help that child. We're giving them small groups. You know, we have teachers that come in that are certified. We have teachers that's coming in that also may not be certified, but they're working towards that certification, to which we take in group that particular teacher with maybe kids with 4. And I just want to make sure that you understand our program is inclusive. We do have neurodivergent and neurotypical kids all working together, because I feel that all kids learn from each other. All kids need to know that we're all the same, but yet we're different. So this world is based on a bunch of different people coming together just to make sure that we are able to learn from each other. Our mission is basically focusing on taking a child that can look at a person and they may learn that, oh, if I do this way, this will help me out. And then we'll explain, okay, look, this child might be different like this, but that child can also teach you something. You know, there's not enough empathy in this world because people don't know, our kids don't know, our kids don't know what's going on. If you explain to children, you'll have a more acceptance of what a child that's different from him or her. Because, and if you look at the world, we're all different. You know, I find that socialization for kids, if you make sure that's organized and that child can be able to understand what's going on, which we do in our program, you'll get a much better outcome.
So how do you help in these situations?
First, we help by organizing, grouping, low ratios. My daughter's going to talk a little on how it's helped.
So if you're watching the feed, Dr. Tara Boyd is her mother's biggest cheerleader, and she's trying to make certain that she doesn't miss any points, but she also doesn't want to be able to be the one delivering the information. So she's trying to make certain that her mom stays on point. But you can share the mic with your mom. It's a kitchen table conversation here. So jump in as you see fit. But I guess the question that Will is asking you is, you do offer after-school programming, correct? Where is that taking place?
After-school program is taking place at 1441 Cabrini Court in New Orleans. I have an office space as well as I have a house that we use based on the child's program. Whether a child might need that one-on-one, we will take them in a house in a room that we have set aside. If there's a group setting going on, there's a big office/school that we have in the back part of our house. So that's taking place there, where we also have the different socialization. We have people coming in to service the child from OT to speech. We also have
occupational therapy. A lot of these folks don't know the acronyms for education, so it's okay. Occupational therapy. You also offer tutoring help, right?
We have
music and movement, sports and games, occupational therapy, and social skills development. And it also says that you empower parents through workshops, training, and advocacy. And I think that's important, because you offering the services is one thing, but you empowering the parents to know how to help their child in your absence is a powerful thing as well. So you offer that, and you have social connections through your inclusive after-school program. So are there teachers also in the building helping you do this, or is this a one-woman show?
No. We have 3 certified teachers that comes. Our groups might be from 1 to 4. Each teacher has a group that she works on, from reading, writing, or math, and based on what the deficits are and strengths, those teachers work to ensure that the child progresses and understands. That's the biggest thing.
And with the reading, writing, and math, we also focus on tailoring the child-specific program. So we might have like a evaluation when the child first come in. If they're having fine motor deficits, if it's something that we're noticing as the professionals that we need to go in and intervene on, that's what we do. So when that child comes, we have a specific program specifically for their child, but we also focus on like social inclusion, just to make sure all kids with any disability, any economical background, that they are learning and understanding what they learned in school and transitioning over into after-school programming.
So you have about 30 seconds. Tell us how folk can sign up should they believe they need your services, or they have a question that only your expertise can help fill the gap for them. How do they reach you, and where can they sign up for the programming?
Okay, we have a website, Moving Challenges, 4 students.org. My phone number is 504-931-2923. We also have a big fundraiser coming up next month, which is a block party that's for all children and adults. We're going to have music, games. We're going to have STEM activities. We're going to have basketball, football, a big DJ out
different
there.
vendors that come in and support different resources.
What date, location,
it's
and
May
time?
24th. 2025, 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock p.m.
Okay.
If you a sponsor, anybody that's interested in volunteering, please reach out to us at 504-931-2923. This fundraiser is going to pay for teachers. We definitely need the teachers in the building that cares about our kids, and at Moving Challenges, we do have those teachers, but we have to pay for them. So please, if you can reach out and help, give me a call at 504-931-2923.
We want to thank our guest, Ms. Tara Boyd from Moving Challenges for Students with Disabilities, and her daughter, Dr. Tara Boyd, for joining us this morning. And as she stated, if you want to participate, the date is Saturday, May 24th from 4 to 8. It's happening at 1441 Cabrini Court. There will be a DJ, food trucks, and kids fun. Children are $10, ages 5 to 12. Children under 5 are free, and they're using this money to help improve the services that they're offering at this much-needed organization. So if you want to get more information, you can go to Moving Challenges, 4 students.org. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having us.
We have to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to jump into the news with the one and only Will Sutton. Y'all stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about
all day long.
WBOK New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know with BIN News. Rebuilding has begun in the largely black populated community of Altadena, California after the Eaton Fire. A property on West Palm Street is the first site of reconstruction cleared by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Only 4 property owners have received rebuilding permits so far. Delivery company DHL is resuming shipments from other countries worth more than $800 to the U.S. It suspended those shipments last month because of new U.S. requirements requiring those packages to be formally processed for entry. The power is mostly back on in Spain and Portugal a day after a massive blackout disrupted life for tens of millions, including American tourists. The cause of the blackout is still under investigation, but authorities have ruled out foul play. And Hollywood is making another Miami Vice movie. It's the second go at a Miami Vice movie after 2006's version starring Jamie Foxx and Colin Farrell. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
New Schools for New Orleans is committed to celebrating the hardworking teachers of New Orleans Public Schools. Join us at the 4th annual NOLA Teacher Fest, sponsored by the All-State Sugar Bowl New Orleans teacher community. The NOLA Teacher Fest is happening Friday, May 2nd at Champion Square from 4 to 7 p.m. The fest is open to teachers, paraprofessionals, deans, coaches, counselors, and other school support staff. Visit our website to learn more and RSVP, www.newschoolsforneworleans.org.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
Everybody, I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta Wise. Shout out to my super producer, Baldy Walt is what I like calling him, but he's our general manager, Justin. He's holding down the boards in absence of my super producer, Nyron Sanders. And shout out to my co-pilot this morning, the one and only Will Sutton. We want to thank
good morning.
Miss Tara Boyd with Moving Challenges for Students with Disabilities for joining us this morning. But right now, Will, we're going to jump into this conversation about this new legislation that that the state is proposing that will end state payouts to wrongfully convicted folk, shifting the focus to federal civil rights claims.
I missed that one.
How did you miss that?
How could they even think about that? I mean, how can you owe somebody money and say, now I won't pay?
Yeah, but isn't that the Louisiana way? What? Like, let's be clear here. I think that we are moving further and further away from humanity in this state, because if the state is responsible for wrongfully convicting somebody, then who is supposed to compensate them if not the state? Like, how do we make them whole if we've held them in a prison system unjustly and they were vindicated, exonerated, and the law requires them to be compensated for that unjust incarceration? How do we then just decide we don't want to do that anymore? Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
Well, it sounds like we, as a state, don't want to fulfill an obligation. Mm-hmm. It sounds that we as a state, or at least those who are in support of this measure, that we don't want to pay for something that we messed up for. It sounds like we want to act as a state that if we did something wrong to you, we're sorry, but that's all we want. And then we only want to say we're sorry.
That's it.
That's it.
But Will, the crazy thing is, it says the House Criminal Justice Committee's move comes after years of complaints from exonerees who say the state has consistently denied them the compensation already allowed by law, which is up to $40,000 per year of $40,000 per year of incarceration. Malcolm Alexander, who spent 38 years in prison for a Jefferson Parish rape he didn't commit, and Jarvis Ballard of St. Bernard Parish, who was also exonerated by DNA evidence, are among those who spent years fighting through the court system to try to receive compensation. Alexander began receiving the compensation in 2024. Imagine spending 38 years of your life wrongfully incarcerated, and then you know that this fund is here to compensate you for it. But then when you get out, the very state that owes you money is saying we don't want to do that. And I think it's a slap in the face to create this law to deny people of due compensation because y'all are already not giving people their money. Because that's why this bill came about, because they were already consistently denying people of their compensation. So even with the law on the book, the state was still saying no to folk who were rightfully owed this money. And so it says Louisiana Attorney General Liz Murrell argued in favor of repealing the law, saying statewide taxpayers shouldn't be responsible for wrongful convictions made in specific jurisdictions. Who should be responsible?
Who is responsible? I mean,
are we going to penalize the judges?
Well,
are we the lawyers? What?
I didn't wrongfully convict and imprison these folks, but as a taxpayer, I think some of my taxes should go beyond, I am sorry, I apologize.
Guess what else she said,
And this
Will?
is a piece of making it right. Even that $40,000 doesn't really make up for
I keep trying to tell people all of this is interconnected, right? Guess what else she said, Will? She said taxpayers from Monroe are having to pay for wrongful convictions in Orleans. So what she's really saying is if Orleans wrongfully convicted them, this is the part of the law that she wants to repeal, because she says state taxpayers shouldn't be responsible for wrong convictions made in specific jurisdictions. Here she's taking aim at New Orleans once again, because she's saying if New Orleans wrongfully convicted them, then the taxpayers of New Orleans ought to pay this money. But the paper don't say New Orleans versus the people. The paper says the state of Louisiana.
Right.
That's what the legal documents say, right? It says the state of Louisiana versus this person. So I just don't understand why folk can't see the writing on the wall, because here we go with Representative Debbie Villio, if that's how you say her name. She's out of Jefferson Parish. We've heard her name before. She introduced a substitute motion to strike the current law. She argued that exonerees can still seek relief through federal civil rights law under Section 1983, though that process typically involves complex litigation and does not guarantee relief. So what she's saying is, I think you should be able to go after it, but you're going to go after it with a law that ain't going to guarantee you no money, and then it's going to take a whole bunch of time to litigate it.
Let us point you in the right direction.
It send you through a maze like a rat.
Meanwhile, we're watching the federal government cut.
She knows that, though. That's why she suggested it. She knows that. Like, stop playing in our face. Like, it's so crazy how we sit back and we allow these things to take place because the language is there. She's speaking very clearly. The Louisiana Attorney General says that she's in favor of repealing the law, saying that statewide taxpayers should not be responsible for wrong convictions in specific jurisdictions. Well, then the document should not say the state of Louisiana. Then it should be the jurisdiction versus that person. Am I not correct? But you said the state of Louisiana, right? Yep. So how come now you're going to say that you wrongfully convict these people, but then now the jurisdiction where they got wrongfully convicted should be responsible for paying them the money? And she specifically used New Orleans. She could have used any parish that she wanted.
Right.
So let's be very clear that they're very strategic in what they're saying here. We have a caller online. When you ready to take some calls?
All right,
Will?
let's hear.
Alicia, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning
Alicia,
Show.
good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. First, let me say this, Doc. I love you so much. Thank you for moderating our meeting last night at NOF. It was an awesome meeting. So I want to thank you for all that you do. But on this particular issue, yes, we had a racist DA, Harry Connick, that people be quiet about. And we've had people to be exonerated and spend 30, 40, 50 years in prison in Harry Connick's office knew that they were innocent. When this guy had got out of jail, he was on 60 Minutes, and he was exonerated. I don't even know if he got paid. But the assistant DA had the audacity to come on with him because he was on 60 Minutes. He wanted to be shown. And he told the story. The only thing they were worrying about was a W. They could care less as long as he got a W. And he asked the man to forgive him. I was so proud of this man when he said, "No, I can't forgive you. I've spent all my life in prison, and you knew that I was innocent. I'm sorry, I can't forgive you." I was so happy for that. But this is the caveat about what Representative Vilio is doing. She's doing Jeff Landry's dirty work because he has always fought every exoneration payment that was due and owed to these prisoners. And how are they going to go to the civil rights violations when Trump is dismantling the Civil Rights Division? Ask Debbie Vilio to answer that question.
Yeah, we
Y'all
should.
have a good day.
Thank you, Miss Alicia. That's the point we're making, right?
Right.
She knows it's a dead end. So
Right.
that's why you're trying to act as if you want to give an option of relief. But the option of relief is a dead end. There's no federal recourse for these folk. And you're admitting that the litigious process will go on and on and on without any guarantee of any relief on the end of it. So I believe what Vilio and what Morrell they're doing is sleight of hand. Right. On the one hand, you're trying to act like you're proposing a solution, because what she's saying is she wants to repeal the law. She wants to make certain that the taxpayers are responsible only in the jurisdictions that wrongfully convicted the folk. But you specifically named New Orleans, right? And you're going to say the taxpayers from Monroe shouldn't have to pay for wrongful convictions in Orleans. Well, the document says the state of Louisiana. Last time I checked, all of those were parishes within
All
the
64.
state. Right? Like, let's be clear here. Cedric, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Good morning. You know what's crazy? When you talk about the state attorney general and how you don't want to pay for certain things, or you don't want other parishes to pay for certain things as it relates to Orleans Parish, well, then why does the state benefit from Orleans Parish with all of the tax revenues? You can't have it one way and not another way. And for all of us, this is why it's important to vote. It's very important for to vote. Once again, you don't want the state to pay for stuff that affects Orleans Parish, but yet Orleans Parish is the economic engine for the state of Louisiana. And I'll hang up and listen.
Thank you, Cedric. We appreciate you. Listen, that's
Absolutely.
the point of all points right there. Like, we've been talking about this on
I know
air.
you rang the bell, but
I rung the bell.
But I'm ringing it again.
Because let's be clear, and that's a valid point. We've been talking about this idea that so goes New Orleans, so goes the state, right? And which is why we believe that there's a coordinated takeover of it, right? That's why they all want their hand in the pot. They want to control things here, because to control New Orleans is to control the fiscal corridor that is New Orleans for the state. And so that's a valid point. If you're going to say the people in Monroe shouldn't have to pay for wrongful convictions in Orleans, then Orleans shouldn't be paying for anything for the other parishes around the state. All of our money should be in our parish, in our city, taking care of our people, right? So can the left hand have what the left hand want at the expense of the right hand? So you're saying that part, but I don't think that you thought about that the people in New Orleans were going to be smart enough to say, well, if that's how you feel, then leave our revenue alone to fund the rest of the state, right?
State of Louisiana probably gets about 50% of its annual budget in federal funds. We are that poor. We're that poor. So with Trump taking away this federal program, that federal program, we better watch what's happening to Louisiana. So that leaves 50% of the budget.
Yeah.
And how much of that is reliant on what we produce in Orleans Parish. So you got Trump taking away from some of those federal funds over time. So if we take away some of what y'all been getting in 63 other parishes, then you got a bigger budget issue to take a look at.
This is a case of folk allowing their racism to impede on their quality of living. Because the attack that you think that you're making for a certain demographic of people, you're going to realize that it's going to be to your detriment. And this idea that folk in Monroe, because I think, you know, you're right, our language is important. I don't think it's by happenstance that you pick those two parishes, right? The folk in Monroe shouldn't have to pay for wrong convictions in New Orleans, as if wrongful convictions are only happening in the city of New Orleans, right? Let's just be clear here. That's not the case.
Right.
St. Bernard Parish has wrongful convictions. All of these parishes have seen wrongful convictions happen, but you use those two specifically. I pay attention to that kind of stuff. I think language is important. And if you're saying that this is the way that you want to do it, then Cedric has the point of all points. Then why are we funding the rest of the state? Right? We can have the top-notch schools. We can have top-notch tourism. We can have top-notch quality of living. We can pay our people a living wage. We can have all of the streets fixed, right? If all of our revenue stayed where it's generated. I mean, I'm just saying, let's ask Norm. Good morning, Norm. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Fine. I was listening to your guest. I happened to be, turned on my phone, and then all of a sudden, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we
hear you.
Okay, and all of a sudden I turned on to Facebook, and then boom, your show came, and you had your guest. I think it was Miss Moore, Dr. Moore, talking about what was happening in this whole attitude in terms of education, where you see this whole budget design. They call it a budget. It's systemically designed to deny, restrict, withhold, and those sort of things. And the kind of work that we're doing in terms of healthcare, what you were describing, just by listening, just to show, is what we call systemic genocide. In other words, state-sponsored. And things, for example, how the people who develop these programs would think. It says that, well, I got to worry about my kids. I got to leave them that I don't have someone to take care of them. Therefore, I got to leave them at the bus stop at 6 a.m. and those sort of things. Well, the person who's administering the state-sponsored guy would say, well, don't have kids. That's what's wrong with you. Yeah, and then and so that goes into that mindset. And so when you see what genocide does, it attacks systemically. It attacks those helpless and innocent women and children, and then men. And so you see this in these budget restrictions. Here's a kid, autism. Like she talked about, it's a condition. It's a whole series of events, but doesn't mean that some of these people are geniuses. Most of them. It's just they're wired a little differently, and they need certain areas getting here and there. So what do? We deprive the schools of this type of help. This kid's able to count numbers or speak different languages, but they're not able to. They lack something in another area. Well, we used to have people in the schools that would handle that. We look at during the apartheid years in the South, in Louisiana, we had black schools and we had white schools. And one of the characteristics of the black educational system was they took care of everyone. They took care of people. They saw characteristics in people. And so we weren't allowed to fail. You go and that was a thinking when many of when you went to the university, like if I went to FAMU, Southern University is the same way, Grambling, is that education, we tried to educate our people and you weren't allowed to fail. You were a part of. Some people were good at math. Some people were good at, they're brilliant at art. They're brilliant athletes. And we built that. That's how we built our culture. That's how anybody builds their culture. So what do? These guys have systematically targeted us to, one, eliminate education. Two, when you eliminate a person's education, you eliminate their job ability. I mean, you eliminate someone's job or the ability to earn money, and you restrict them in their neighborhood. That's nothing but That's nothing but systemic. That's systemic genocide. It's not going to happen over at one point. It's going to happen gradually. We eliminate someone's ability to grow food. We used to grow our own food. Well, we eliminate that. Then we eliminate their people to get access to food by eliminating the store, or the ability to buy food by eliminating the food coupons or that sort of thing. And it goes on and on. And then what do? You eliminate the physicians and your pharmacists and your dentists and your businesses in the neighborhood. Find that person's committing Medicaid fraud or whatever. Get rid of them. Send your doctor to jail. Now, you see this in Louisiana and New Orleans. A whole set of doctors gone to jail. Mike, who's a cardiologist, he never had problems with the criminal justice. All of a sudden, Michael Jones is in prison, and he's a cardiologist and things like that, and his whole group. So this is what we're talking, and this is what that argument that she's talking about, there is no different from the fight that we struggle. And people need to recognize we're living in the fascism, or better yet, if you want to see it, just study South Africa and the Bantu Education Act, and that's what the Bantu applied here and applied in the state of Louisiana. I've talked about that before here, but that's what we see here, and people like you are standing up and fighting against it is how we resist it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thanks for calling.
Absolutely. Look, and I agree with him. It's all interconnected. We continue to talk about this. This is not anything that we're seeing that's new. It's happening, and it's happening all across the globe in different shapes, forms, and fashions. But we've seen it before, and it's all interconnected. Good morning, Pop. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Thank you for taking my call. I'm glad I have a minute. So
yeah.
Now I don't have much to say, but look like they don't have much to take over in the city because I understand. I found out you can really help me on this, Dr. Wise. And all the years that we were collecting that money on the bridge, it was going to Lake Charles.
That's what
Am
I
correct
what I heard.
on that?
That's what I heard too, Pop.
Yes. So what is left to take over?
Right. They've been pillaging this city for a very long time. Long time. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you, Pop.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I appreciate you.
Pop, I have to say,
all right,
that sounds pretty sharp to me.
Yeah, talking about I ain't the sharpest knife in the drawer.
Thank you very
Pop.
much for taking my call.
You're welcome. Listen, we have to go to break, but I want to put something on your mind, Will, and for our listening audience. Did you know that there were Nazi-loving white supremacists in our community?
Nazi-loving?
Nazi-loving. They were throwing up the Nazi salute saying white power in the French Quarter. And they're tattoo artists. And so the very fine people on social media were able to find them expeditiously. So we have names and businesses and faces.
They were businesses
because
businesses?
They're businesses. They are tattoo artists who came down to visit a tattoo museum that we have in the city.
Yeah.
And we were able to but the folk on social media were able to locate the tattoo shop they work for, identify them by name and social media handle.
Oh boy.
But they were down in the French Quarter doing Nazi salutes saying white power. You think that's by happenstance or is that by design? Let's think about that. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about.
All day long.
Late nights are made for chillin', and you can do just that every Sunday night at 10 p.m. as DJ Wick brings you The Love Zone. It's the perfect way to top off your weekend with your favorite old and new school ballads. So sit back, relax, and let DJ Wick take you to on WBOK and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
Good Tuesday morning. I'm Daryl Fortis with WDSU News, and here's your headlines. The search is on for the driver of a stolen vehicle who led Jefferson Parish deputies on a chase. That chase ended when one of the suspects in that car was shot. Now, this all happened around 7:45 p.m. in Marrero. Now, we're told deputies tried to stop a vehicle that was reported stolen when they were led on a chase. A 16-year-old passenger jumped out and ran. A deputy followed the teen. The JPSO deputy fired shots and struck the teen. The suspect is being treated for non-life-threatening injuries. The alleged stolen car was recovered on the West Bank, but the driver is still at large. All eyes are on the rising Mississippi River. The Army Corps of Engineers says it's at about 16.5 feet at the Carrollton Gauge in New Orleans. That's just below the 17-feet minor flood stage. It comes as daily inspections are still happening from Baton Rouge to Venice. Officials tested the opening of the Bonnie Carey Spillway last week, but it's still unclear if that will happen. All right, trash talks in New Orleans got heated, and the key players behind the deal were no-shows. Monday's hearing was meant to get to the bottom of why the mayor's office terminated Ivy Waste's emergency contract in the French Quarter and parts of the CBD. Mayor LaToya Cantrell wants to reinstate the original contract with Henry Consulting, but the city charter says council members must approve that contract before Henry Consulting can begin pickups, something they have refused to do. The city says because the council won't sign off on the contract with Henry Consulting, they have forced the company to take legal action. I'm Daryl Fortis, and that's your headlines for WBOK. Have a great
Connect
day.
with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
The second weekend of Jazz Fest is here. Don't miss Lenny Kravitz, Thames, Patti LaBelle, Trombone Shorty, Kamasi Washington, The Wailers featuring Julian Marley, Lettucey Sings Nina, Morris Day and The Time, Ricky Dillard and New G, Terrence Blanchard, and hundreds more. The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. Tickets and info at nojazzfest.com. Miller Lite, official sponsor of Jazz Fest.
This summer, let your child's creativity shine at Camp Art, New Orleans' most vibrant, arts-driven camp experience for kids ages 4 to 12. Hosted by Beyond the Stage, Camp Art blends visual art, theater, music, dance, and creative writing with New Orleans history and culture. Plus, field trips, guest artists, and camper showcases. With full-day programming before and after care and sessions starting June 9th, it's the perfect fit for working parents. Fun, enriching, unforgettable. Register now at BeyondTheStageLLC.com/Camp Art and follow us on social media at Beyond the Stage LLC.
This is Jackie Jones with Class Act Entertainment. Join us on May 11th at the Honor Thy Mother Theater Brunch in partnership with WBOK at the Jean Lafitte Auditorium. Experience the red carpet with live interviews and photo ops, along with a chance to win a trip to Las Vegas. Highlighting the afternoon is the original stage play, Mama. The finale, live concert with Piano Man G. Get your tickets at 504-491-1179.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My co-pilot this morning is the one and only Will Sutton. And if you're just joining us, we're in studio with the folk from Class Act Entertainment. And Class Act is celebrating their 10th annual Honor Thy Mother Theater Brunch in a multifaceted upscale theme production. We have the producer, Mr. Shay Jones.
Hello.
We have the one and only Miss Jackie Jones, whose voice you just heard over the airwaves. Say hello, Miss Jackie.
Well, hello, everyone.
And we have my soror, of the illustrious Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated, Miss Carolyn DeBose. How you doing, Soror?
Good morning, everybody. Blessings.
Welcome to the Good Morning Show, everybody. How's it going?
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
We are so excited about the upcoming Honor Thy Mother Theater Brunch.
So talk to us about that. It's your 10th time. So y'all are pros at this point. Y'all got this thing down to a science at this point. Talk to us about the Honor Thy Mother Theater Brunch that is taking place May 11 and doors open at 11 a.m.
Well, one thing to think about this brunch, it is so unique. We know about brunches because everybody, does a brunch. But we bring another element to what a brunch is and how a brunch should feel. Starting with, up on arrival, you will walk the red carpet with your colleague, Oliver Thomas. He's the correspondent who will be on that carpet taking pictures, doing interviews before you go into the ballroom. And once that has been completed, you walk into a ballroom of elegance, live music, and any type of breakfast or lunch food you want to taste, it will be there. But while all of that is going on, we have 10 gifts that some lucky person, lady, will receive. One is a trip to Las Vegas or Orlando, Florida.
Just give it to me. I'm going to win it.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Yes,
And the Hubbard Mansion on St. Charles is giving us a 2-night stay. Carolyn DeBose is connected to that. We have spa day. But that's not the only thing that mothers will receive. Every lady in that room will receive a token of love gift from Class Act. And I want to tell you all of the gifts and all of the things. But more importantly, guess what? The big thing that's happening will be the stage play, the original powerful stage play, Mama.
So, Mr. Shea, listen, you're the producer, but you have the best hype woman over here.
Yes, I do.
I mean, if the folk weren't considering going after that introduction, I mean, you guys hit it out the park.
Oh,
sir.
yes, ma'am.
Talk to us about Mama.
Well, Mama is a stage play that's really based off of our family. A family that stay together, pray together, and we just took a lot of different elements from our household and made it a stage play to have people laughing and having a great time of the evening.
So, how can folk get tickets? Where can they go to sign up if they want a ticket? I see something about sponsorships. Are there opportunities for folk to sponsor the work that you're doing at Class Act?
Yes, there is opportunities for people to sponsor. Right now, we are in a place of really just in the production mode of stuff. But if there anybody that's out there listening that would love to be a sponsor, they can get in contact with us at 491-1179 and ask for that hype lady, Mrs. Jacqueline Jones.
Yeah, I mean, she's selling it.
But the sponsorship can also be sponsored up tables. We're asking our elected officials to perhaps sponsor a table for a senior in their district. And so it's different ways of sponsorship. And I think what our producer didn't tell you was following that stage play, the finale is going to bring it all home with the live concert from Piano Man G. And everybody is coming with their boots and their fans so they can get the boots on the ground. And a quick story, I asked him about where I could find some fans. And he said, why? I said, because everybody gonna have boots on the ground. He said, Mama, you will be so busy, your feet will not touch the ground.
Listen, I think this is wonderful. So, Shay, tell us when is it taking place, what time, and again, where can we go if folk want to get a ticket to watch the stage play and participate in all of the
Yes. Well, as Ms. Jones was sharing with you guys, it is truly a multifaceted production. We have a lot of brunches that goes on in the city, but we're very, very unique about what we're doing with our brunch. And it's going to take place at the Jean Lafitte Auditorium. That's going to be May 11th. It's on actual Mother's Day. The tickets are $90. That includes all of your food and all of the entertainment that's going to be taking place there. And it was something else you asked me. What was that?
And you're going to get the tickets by calling.
There you go.
504-491-1179.
And please don't forget the red carpet experience.
That's
that's
one of the best
an
things.
experience.
Oliver
to get to be
Thomas,
interviewed, to get to take your picture, you get to feel fancy,
That's
like
correct.
a superstar on that day. And please don't act like y'all thought I was gonna leave my soror out. But Soror Carolyn, where do you fit in with the Class Act Entertainment?
I am the vice president of sales. So they can also get the tickets here at WBOK.
Hey, ring a bell. Ring a bell. Exclusive.
And we're looking for lots of people to just flood your office asking for those $90 tickets, wanting to know how to purchase a whole table. So it's a family affair. We want everyone to come out and enjoy the festivities and see what Class Act Production has to offer.
And let me just say this. If you're riding in the car and you're listening to WBOK, you might want to find you a way to click on so you can see my soror. If you want to see what an SG roll looks like, you might want to click on to see what the Pretty Poodles have to offer.
Oh my God.
Culture Pearl has to offer, okay?
Look, I know you come from a world of being with people.
Yes.
This play or this production will raise proceeds for the end of the year Winter Wonderland toy and book giveaway. And it will have the same flavor for the children as one of our productions. And so we are excited because it has a twofold. It's a celebration, but it is also a way that we can ensure having that book and toy giveaway. And we looking for our sponsor, WBOK, to be in the house.
Listen, WBOK is going to always be where Black excellence is being amplified. And so you can count on us to make certain that we amplify this event as well. But have you ever been a cheerleader? Michelle?
I know. The energy is like, wow. Bringing the
Listen, talk about Class Act, but you are doing a wonderful job. And is Shay your son?
Yes, he is.
That's what we have to let the listening audience know. There's nothing like a mama.
So I got a question for Shay.
Okay.
I got a question for Shay.
Yes.
Mr. Producer.
Yes, sir.
This is the name is Mama.
Yes. The play. Yes.
Yeah. It's happening on Mother's Day.
Yes, sir.
I heard them talking about all the women and being dressed up.
Yes, sir.
What about the brothers?
So the brothers gotta bring their moms or their wives. So yes, all of that is included. The brothers, the moms, and the children.
All right. Any brothers? Any brothers in the play?
Yeah, all brothers in the play. Yeah. Oh yes, yeah. It's about the family. Yes.
I heard him say, Will, is y'all gonna be chauffeuring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Y'all gonna be fixing the dresses
That's
for,
right.
for the women.
Yeah.
And y'all gonna be catering.
All right.
That's what I heard him say.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
I just want to know what our role is.
No, we got a bigger role than that. We got to pay for those tickets.
Yeah.
We are, say that again, Ms.
Pay
Debo.
for the table.
For the table. Yes. We have a bigger role than that. Yes, ma'am.
This mama, is this in some way, shape, or form mirrored after your mother?
One of the characters.
One of the characters.
Yes,
That
one
would
of the
be fun,
characters.
so I bet you I could figure out which one.
You'll find when you're there, you'll find out. And most of the main characters are based after myself.
And so you say y'all are still in like production. So
Yes.
Is it still y'all are still prepping for it and putting it together?
Yeah. Oh, yes, ma'am. It's never a ending moment of work of logistics and to the stage play rehearsals and putting everything, all the fine tunes on how it's going to look for everybody on that day on the 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And can you talk to us a little bit about the sponsorships? I know your mom touched on that folk can sponsor a table, but
Yes.
there are other sponsorships. You want to talk to us about that?
Yes. We have one of our local hotels, the Best Westerns. It's one of our sponsors. We have Orleans Furnitures is one of our sponsors that sponsors the stage area for the play. We also have Cornerstone, which is one of our plants in the city. And whom else? And whom else? I'm thinking about somebody else.
Well, in the line of sponsorships, we had the levels.
Yes.
And so I think you've hit all of the levels. But then, as I see, like I got a call last night from one of our judges, and he wanted to know how I can't be there, but I want people from my area to come. So Miss Jackie passed by and get my check and my team.
Yeah.
So you have sponsors in different different ways. But the three major is WBOK.
So it sounds like are we live broadcasting from the brunch, Mr. General Manager?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Listen, if we can make it happen, we're gonna make it
Yeah, I
happen.
know you
Because
will.
it sounds like the place for us to be.
Mhm.
But on top of this, what makes this year even more special than the previous years?
Oh, wow. Well, now this is real dear to my heart. We haven't done a production like this since COVID, okay? And we lost 2 really close family members and people who were part of Class A. And it took us off the market for a minute because we had to regroup from those losses. So this year it's very special because we're going to be honoring Acacia Cardwell. She was one of our poets who actually helped me write these plays, and my grandmother. You talked about my mother that has a lot of energy. My grandmother had a lot of energy too, because they was my biggest supporters when I said I wanted to open this company back up in 2010.
Listen, I just talk about grandmothers and losing that matriarchs are hard.
Yes.
To lose, especially in our community, because
Yes.
it feels like they're the thread that keeps everything connected. And so I'm sorry for your loss there. But I believe the best way to honor her is to continue to do the things
Yes.
that had y'all connected in the first place.
Yes.
And so I'm glad that you're continuing with
Thank
this
you.
thing. I'm glad that you're 10 years in and only going to get bigger and better.
Thank you.
But before we leave, I want you to once again reiterate to people how they can get tickets,
Okay.
where this event is taking place, when, and what time.
Okay. We're going to be at the Jean Lafitte Auditorium. That's going to be on May 11. Doors will open at 11 o'clock. You can get your tickets right here at the station at WBOK. They just have to come and call in. Or you can call the number 491-1179. That's 504-491-1179. And you can get your personal ticket or you can get a table.
And when he said get your personal ticket at a table, he's talking to all the men out there.
That's right.
Get tickets, man. That's what he's talking about. It is Mother's Day. All of the women need
Mother's
to
Day
just
treat.
show up pretty and ready to be glamorous on the red carpet. So men, whatever card you have, black card, Amex card, MasterCard, Visa, cash.
We want you to step up to the plate.
So listen, we want to thank our folk from Class Act. We had Miss Jackie Jones. That's her son, y'all. She was up here hyping it up for her son, the producer, Shay Jones. And we had my soror, the beautiful, illustrious Carolyn Duels. Listen, there's nothing like an SG Row, baby.
Oh, wow.
Shout out to Sigma Gamma Rho. Shout out to 1922. It's been a pleasure to have you guys here. But please, if you're considering anything on Mother's Day, please consider going over to Jean Lafitte Auditorium at 4953 City Park Street in Jean Lafitte, or you can call the number 504-491-1179 to get your tickets, or you can come right here at Xavier South at WBOK and purchase your tickets. So if you want to honor thy mother, get y'all tickets, and I'm talking to the men.
I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that.
Thank y'all so much for joining us. Shout out to Class Act Entertainment. We have to go to break, but when we come back, Will and I are going to talk about the things that need to be talked about right here on WBOK.
Okay, Mr. Will.
AM with New Orleans is talking about
all day long.
All day long.
This is your news update for WBOK from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Partly to mostly cloudy today with highs in the mid to upper 80s. Rain will again hold off. Expect an onshore flow. Winds 5 to 15 miles per hour. Lows tonight into the 60s and 70s and muggy. More mid to upper 80s for Wednesday. Rain chances Thursday to the weekend. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Reshar.
How we help each other shows what kind of world we want to live in, and the smallest actions together speak the loudest. So, what kind of world do you want to live in? Give NOLA Day is May 6th. Early giving starts April 29th. Visit givenola.org.
New Orleans, if you know a young adult or you are a young adult, listen up. This is your chance to level up your future.
Job One's Young Adult Career Expo is going down April 16th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at 1307 Oritha Castle Haley Boulevard.
Put on your best outfit, grab your resume, and meet employers from across the city.
Some of them might even hire you on the spot. This is your moment. Get ready.
Hello, I'm Gary Clark. Please tune in to Dr. Clark 101, The Living Classroom, which is broadcasted weekly every Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. on WBOK 12:30 a.m. on your dial. And as always, it's been a pleasure.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060. Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK.
I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta White. Shout out to my co-pilot this morning, the one and only Will Sutton. And if you're just joining us, you missed an opportunity to engage with the phenomenal folk from Class Act Entertainment, Miss Jackie Jones, Miss Lachey Jones, and my soror, Carolyn Dubose. We were talking about the 10th annual Honor Thy Mother Theater Brunch, which is taking place May 11th. The doors open at 11 a.m. and it's happening at Jean Lafitte Auditorium, 4953 City Park Street. If you're looking for tickets, you can get them right here at WBOK, or you can call the number 504-491-1179 to get your tickets. But, Will, what you talking about, Will?
Hey, I don't know if y'all saw or heard about what happened in California. We got all kinds of stuff going on with immigration and deporting people and putting people in prison and sending people off to other countries without even having any criminal history or any reason, just all kinds of stuff. So now this stuff is sinking from Trump and the federal government level down into local communities. So you really need to hear what this mayor in Lancaster, California, because this is his idea for how to purge, listen to that word, purge homeless folks out there.
it sounds like you want to kind of enclose all these homeless people in one territory. And I don't.
What I want to do is give
I
them
don't
free
think.
fentanyl. I mean, that's what I want to do.
Do what?
I want to give them free fentanyl. You know?
I can't understand what you're saying. You wanted to get with them what?
I want to give them all the fentanyl they want. That's what I want.
That was not kind. So if we're back to the homeless, okay, first is to think, if we think about homeless people, I mean, literally there's like only a couple of steps between any of us who have a home and the people who have not.
Can you believe that? So
all the fentanyl they want. And what does that do? We know what that does. That's not a purge. That's a death sentence.
We live in a country where being homeless is criminal, right? They criminalize homelessness here. And then they treat you as if you are not human. They treat you inhumanely if you don't have a home. And I tell people all the time, I actually just spoke in Lafayette as it relates to children and gun violence. And I talked about this idea that Katrina humbled a lot of us because we all realize that we're one disaster away from homelessness ourselves, right? And so to be in this position to think that your solution to homelessness, to the folk who are already in critical need of our compassion and our care, is to feed them a deadly drug. He wants to give them all the fentanyl they need.
Right.
He's calling for a purge.
And he went beyond that because he wants to target a criminal element as if all homeless people are criminal. Most people who are homeless have nothing to do with crime. They are there because of very
and some people who are
unfortunate
homeless
circumstances.
actually work.
And they're
working.
Yeah,
they're living
right.
in cars because
Yep.
they can't afford
Yep.
rent and mortgage.
Yep. Living in encampments, under bridges. But they do go to work. They have to be worried about their stuff. And some of them have to be concerned about taking care of their kids.
And this is Lancaster Mayor R. Rex Paris, a Republican, made these comments during a city council meeting on February the 25th when a resident questioned him about the city's plan to address the homeless crisis by enclosing the homeless population in a single encampment in an abandoned golf course near a residential neighborhood. You know what that sounds like? Remember when we housed our homeless in that warehouse that wasn't fit to house humans? You remember that? And then we spent, $17 million to do it, and we still don't know to this very moment what that money went towards, where those people are, if there's transitional housing for them, or are they just right back on the street after spending nearly $20 million to hide them from our visitors. That's what it sounds like to me.
Right. And he wants the federal government's help. He said, quite frankly, I wish the president would give us a purge because we do need to purge these people.
So let's be very clear, Will. When he says the word purge, he's talking about exterminating, eliminating,
that is
killing,
exactly right.
Taking out,
anytime
doing
you
away
give
with
people a synthetic opioid like fentanyl,
that's
all
a death sentence.
they want.
Sometimes you can come in contact, touch it, and you have an overdose of it. You don't even have to ingest it. We've seen cases where police officers have engaged folk and they've come in contact with it and they're seizing up and passing out. This is how potent and deadly this drug is. And you have somebody in a position of authority, an elected official.
15 years he's been mayor. And he's an attorney. He definitely should know better.
And it also says that he reaffirms his position about wanting to give homeless people the illicit drug that kills thousands of Californians per year. He told Fox 11 on Friday that he has no regrets about his remarks and that he was referring to homeless criminals who refuse to seek help. So how are you going to differentiate between a homeless non-criminal and a homeless criminal? Are they walking around with signs or scarlet letters on them saying, I'm a criminal? How are you going to determine who you're going to feed the drug to if you call for this purge, sir? What test do they have to take to prove to you that they're not a criminal?
Yeah.
What you going to run their background if they've ever been arrested or convicted of something that requires them to take the drug. Like, what are we doing here as a country? But he feels empowered because he has a person in the authority of power that treats people this way, pulling folk off the street, deporting them illegally. They deported a 2-year-old baby. This is what this country has come to. Lawmakers calling for death sentences for homeless people because they don't see them as human. They don't see them as valuable or worthy because they're housing insufficient.
And you know, he's talking about homeless and aggregating them into one area, feeding them drugs until he doesn't use the word die or death, but we know what that means. And he even references them as what's referred to as the homeless population. What's referred to?
But look what he goes on to say. He did not expect his comments to be taken literally.
Oh, please.
What,
You're a
what
freaking
did
mayor
you mean?
at a public meeting.
Yes.
You are not in the backyard with your family.
Smoking cigars and saying all of the quiet things out loud, right? Mm-hmm. Because also, too, we also know that there is no way that you could encapsulate or enclose or cordon off folk. If you hype them up on drugs and you put them in dire circumstances, that's what they're going to start doing, venturing off into the communities, looking for their next fix. Because, I mean, what fix? Because what's going to happen if, you know, I just don't understand how we are allowed. They should have been calling for his immediate resignation. They should be recalling him. Because do we need to do something about the homelessness and the crisis that is homelessness? Absolutely. But the first thing is to kill them. The first thing to do is to treat people humanely, because we can all find ourselves in a situation where our circumstances requires the empathy of other people.
We don't need to kill people. We already have. Already have the death penalty.
Tell that to the state of Louisiana, right? Listen, it's been quite a show, Will. It's been quite a show. We want to thank our
some great guests.
Yeah, Tara Boyd for moving challenges for students with disabilities.
That's so important.
Our folk from Class Ag, that is Miss Jackie Jones, Mr. Shay Jones, and Carolyn Dubose. It's been a phenomenal show. Thank you to all of our callers. Thank you to the listening audience. Thank you to those of you who are engaging in the chat. But you know what y'all have to do. Stay tuned up next for the Front Porch for Graydon and Kimba.
Front Porch.
But as far as the Good Morning Show, Dr. Y. Will Sutton, we going to see y'all tomorrow. Happy Tuesday, everybody. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about
all day long.